Hey guys, welcome back to another Payday 3 analysis video. Today we're going to be doing TheKknowely's Payday 3 The Art of Stealth video, the third one of this trilogy. So it's the final Payday 3 video that I will probably be analyzing from Kknowley unless something new comes out before Payday 3 comes out. So, without further ado, let's just get started. Nothing to wait on.
Welcome to the finale of my Payday 3 hands-on series, where I'll be taking you through everything I was able to gather from my time with the game in Stockholm and London. Today's video will be focused on the newly developed stealth mechanics that are so core to what sets Payday apart as a game. If you thought Loud had come a long way from Payday 2's systems, you ain't seen nothing yet. Stealth in Payday 3 has evolved into a completely different beast that promotes styles of play I've never even considered before. Want to become a powerful hacker, controlling the camera systems and even using them to directly stun guards, all without even breaking cover and masking up? Or maybe you fancy a more lethal strategy, snapping necks and dragging bodies, all whilst answering pages in the process. Payday 3 seems to
So that just seems like a list of skills that you could have. Like, you could have, like, the hacker tree, which I assume would be a skill tree, where you have access to, like, all the camera controls and that sort of stuff. It sounds like there's going to be a hostage taking tree, although pretty sure we already knew that. But there seems to be more skills tied to, like, this takedown thing, being able to answer pagers on the move, that sort of stuff.
cater to all tastes. As with the Loud gameplay, many of your best experiences will come as these mechanics converge, creating memorable chains of event that you could never imagine taking place in the confines of Payday 2's linear system. If you want to hear more about the skills, weapons, or Loud gameplay, the previous two episodes in this hands-on series are still there for your viewing pleasure, but if stealth is your bag, as I'm willing to bet it will be for many more in Payday 3, keep watching as I talk you through what makes it so special. First of all, I want to emphasize that stealth now fits much more cleanly within every heist gameplay loop. A starting stealth approach can work as a perfect bridge to set up for a Loud completion. Maybe you'll use the stealth section to just corral as many hostages as possible, or you'll leverage it to complete a side objective before the heat arrives. Or hell, you might want to crack the vault open as you find the thermite approach annoying, but be happy going Loud on the main road escape. There's a lot of stealth to Loud flexibility, which is aided by the new skill system and removal of concealment. Just about any build can get somewhere in stealth if you know what you're doing, and you can happily forego a few damage skills if you'd like to specialise in more hybrid options to take security as hostages or even control the heist cameras. This makes the playstyle so much less cumbersome for the average player, meaning more than just solo stealthers should get to enjoy the full Payday experience here in New York.
So just a lot more synergy between stealth and Loud here. Like, you get some skills that'll work both in stealth and Loud, and then you got some stealth ones if you just want to do like stealth but are preparing to go Loud later on, or you could go like full stealth, trying to act like you're not going Loud. You could do full Loud. So just there's a lot more synergy between stealth and Loud. Like, it's a lot easier to mix up the two and work around it now.
Looking at stealth specifically, what's really changed to enable this though? Well, I'd like to start by discussing casing mode, which has been completely overhauled to open up many more approaches to the heist. Now you can sprint and interact with most things whilst mask off, allowing you to make riskier plays with less actual risk of failure. The way this is all tied together is via a new security system, with heist maps being split into public areas, spaces where casing mode logically allows you to blend in completely, private areas where guards and cameras will be suspicious of your presence, attempting to escort you out if they spot you, assuming it's your first infringement, else they might go straight for the cuffs, and finally secure areas, which are your standard shoot-on-sight locations where trespassing is a criminal offence, mask or no mask.
The fact that you can do a lot more with your mask off is definitely going to be nice. I've always wondered why there are some things you just can't do well in stealth, or, well, unmasked, because, like, someone running doesn't seem like that suspicious if they're just like jogging. And then these separate areas, like secure areas and private areas, is a pretty good way, in my opinion, of just separating the areas. Like, if you're in a public area, you don't really have to worry all that much as long as there's like no civs around. If you're in a private area, you have to be more careful, but it's still not all that dangerous. But then if you're in a secure area, you have to make sure that you're not seen, because, well, you're going to get all the SWAT pulling down on you.
This system is surprisingly robust, with many ways to play around how security will treat you when spotted in each location. For example, where the public have full access, you'll be able to do things like close the bank shutters to prepare for a full shock and awe control approach without the outside world seeing you. Whilst in private locations, you can use the guard's willingness to escort you outside to sneakily pickpocket his keycard, or simply create a space for the rest of your crew to move past him whilst distracted. Hell, even the secure areas have some seriously interesting counterplay, as you can bait security toward you by loudly sprinting in a location where no one should be running around. That's the clever AI we've been pining for years in Payday 2.
It's just better AI. Love to hear it, because better AI just means a lot more interactiveness with the heist. Like, you said that just running can lure guards, which could like draw them away from an objective, or maybe take them away from where you hit a sieve or something. So definitely a really good upgrade to the AI. Would make it a lot more fun, which they've done.
These interactions are seemingly endless and impressively logical. In fact, I've yet to find a crazy sounding idea that didn't work at least somewhat as I hoped it would. Alongside tricking the AI manually, there also exist lures that can be activated by your mobile to call guards into specific locations, allowing you to subdue them quietly or flank around whilst they're distracted. When it comes time to mask up though, either to start killing or complete a specific objective, that's when things get really interesting. You can actually take a more traditional, masked up approach to most heists, and masking up often gives you access to a more advantageous point of entry, as it allows you to jump and vault. But remember, you won't be able to remove it once it's on, which...
Not being able to remove your mask afterwards is kinda to be expected, although I feel like there could be a system implemented where you can take it off. Like, if nobody saw you, like if your detection meter didn't go up at all, then I feel like it would be acceptable to be able to take your mask off. But if you got detected even a tiny bit, like 1% detection, you'd have to leave it on. I feel like that would be fair personally, but I mean, that could also just be a pain to like balance properly, because there would be some heists where that would be a lot more effective than in others. So I feel like there is potential for the ability to take your mask off, but I can see why they didn't add it back in, because then it would just be way too easy.
is a bit arbitrary, but purely is a necessity as a balancing tool. Again, this is one of the many trade-offs between playstyles I've been highlighting, as you might gain a vantage, but without the lifeline of feigning innocence when first found by a guard. Examples of a masked approach include heading up to the roof on the art gallery for a vent entrance, or even pulling out a blowtorch to enter through the second floor window on the bank heist. Differential approaches that some heisters might just prefer. I suppose at this point I should really start talking about what you can get up to uniquely on stealth heists. For once, if you now catch a security guard unaware, you can silently take them down with a crack of their neck, allowing you to instantly take charge of the body and answer their pager in one fell swoop, giving you more control over the location of any takedown. Whilst I don't love the pager system, its return is probably warranted to balance the difficulty of stealth, and it comes with a fair few direct improvements and skills to make things less cumbersome. For example,
Pagers coming back was kinda to be expected, because like, while they would definitely make stealth better, I can't expect them to make like Metal Gear Solid type stealth. Pagers coming back is probably just like for the better because of balancing. So while I personally don't like the fact that they're back, I guess they do have their reasons for bringing them back. Plus, as he's about to mention, there are skills to make it easier to answer pagers and just make them less of a hassle.
I'm told that failing to answer a pager will simply make the operator more wary and count for 2 usages instead of automatically breaking stealth. Not to mention, there are skills to make pager answering a ranged ability, which was a game changer for me. Cameras are obviously back and fairly plentiful in my experience, with detection rates in general being a lot more punishing, which I suppose makes sense bearing in mind how many more tools heisters have to avoid and respond to being detected. The key as ever is to take out the camera operator, preferably before you've identified your crimes directly to them, as I mentioned in my story in the first video. Cameras can also be looped, controlled and held in place to allow your team to safely proceed, or even spot and call out the locations of security via a skill that grants you access to the entire network by simply hacking one of the machines.
Just another list of skills that could be useful. Nothing much, just wanted to mention that.
When it comes to controlling civilians in stealth, it's fair to say they're much more easily intimidated in this game and react suitably in the presence of armed criminals now. I found it possible to lead a group of cable-tied civs, which by the way are infinite now, around a safe area, and you can always just use the human shield method if you want greater control.
Yay, better civ control. Love to hear it. Fucking hate civs in Payday 2, dude. Like, they will actively stand up in the middle of a gunfight. Like, you can literally be shooting cops and they'll just stand up and get shot and you're the one that gets punished. Just kinda unfair, so having better civ AI is definitely nice.
The majority of stealth-orientated skills are focused around having more options and tools when it comes to hacking, taking prisoners, and even moving quickly, clearly taking some inspiration from Yakuza with that one. In all, this has created a fairly streamlined system which can benefit many styles of approach and does actually reward innovative strategies in my experience. Gone are the days of trying to slink around everyone you see or ECM rushing an entire heist. Payday 3 is all about planning out a route, executing everything as best as possible, and then thinking on your feet when things go awry. I found in general
Plans really just don't work out properly. Like, you can have a plan, but chances are it's going to go wrong. Which is probably why you mentioned being able to think on your feet, but you're probably going to need to be doing a lot of thinking on your feet and just having those tools to be able to work around any mess-ups that can and will happen.
General stealth objectives require a little more guard from players to complete and focus more on puzzly mechanics, which is a change warmly received by me at least. I love that you can march bank executives over for a retina scan to secure vault entry. It's a perfect illustration of how far the game's come when we compare its execution to a similar objective in Hoxton Revenge. Contextual clues such as following a power supply cable will also reward you for being observant and actually applying a bit of thought to your heisting, which is refreshing and more of that show don't tell approach I've been hoping to see for years.
That's nice. Just having those extra contextual clues is just going to be like a convenient thing for people that are paying attention, and they can just be used to rush through, to like just help speed through like objectives, because, well, it just makes it easier and it's just something that's nice to have.
Stealth can get even better than that though, as finally we're getting scaling difficulty modifiers to make those higher difficulties more rewarding to stealth through. Modifiers will depend on the security companies present on the heist and can range from indestructible cameras to a head guard who will always be on high alert and when killed will activate an endless pager that requires you to keep answering until stealth is broken.
I could see how that would definitely be annoying. Having an endless pager means that if you're playing solo no AI, you're automatically done for while it's happening. Although I don't know why you would play solo stealth no AI. And just like, it's really nice that they're like adding actual difficulty modifiers to higher difficulties, because in Payday 2, there's no point on not stealthing on death sentence, because there's virtually no difference between stealthing on normal and stealthing on death sentence. Beyond, I think, a few extra guards on some heists, if that, Titan cameras and Titan safes, that's about it. Apart from that, there's no point on not stealthing on death sentence. So having these extra modifiers will just make it like, I don't know, add the difficulty scaling that stealth really needs.
With the right skills, this isn't as bad as it sounds, and I was in equal parts overjoyed and amused to find I could just carry his body around for the rest of the heist to keep on top of that obligation, more thinking on your feet, and another difficulty trade-off. I also noticed that higher difficulties seem to be less generous with their pages, meaning you can't be quite as gung-ho with your murder. Much like in Loud, objectives also increase in their complexity on higher difficulties, organically amping up the challenge without the need for any real gimmicks. However, we do...
That would be fun. Having higher complexity objectives on higher difficulties, as he just said, will organically increase the difficulty while simultaneously making the game more fun. Because personally, I don't like objectives that are just start the drill, wait for the drill to finish, restart the drill when it's broken, start the hack, wait for the hack to finish. Just having like extra things to do other than just shoot cops is a lot more fun than just sit there and wait for objective to finish.
do want to talk about gimmicks that actually land, the art gallery heist is the perfect example. It's incredibly unique in stealth thanks to these Mission Impossible style laser puzzles found in each room to add a bit of jeopardy to proceedings. These can range from simply crouching around lasers to a floor is lava style layout, or even moving motion sensors that you'll have to dodge whilst you make your way over to the power supply of each exhibit room. It can be slightly frustrating, but I can't deny it's immensely compelling and had my heart in my mouth consistently. All these cumulative elements come together to create a truly deep and engaging experience on the heist I've been able to play so far, with stealth completions being incredibly satisfying and feeling well earned as a result. There are a few other features of Payday 3 stealth still worth talking about though. For example, heist randomization is highly pertinent to stealth in its replayability. Overall, I found there's less map variation than we're used to seeing in Payday 2, but Civ and guard pathing feels almost impossible to predict from prior runs, keeping things quite fresh. However,
So instead of map randomness, you get AI randomness, which is definitely an interesting way to go around it, because it's a lot more easier to recover from a situation if you know where everything is, but also having just the different AI means that you could be caught unawares even if you know the area really well. So I can see why they could have gone for this approach, just having less heist randomness, and because having a lot of heist randomness plus a lot of AI randomness could just create a giant clusterfuck that would be a pain to deal with. So, different approach, could be fun, could be not. Again, something else that we're just going to have to play to see how it works out.
one feature that does make a lot of sense is the seeded randomization approach. I'm told that basically once in a heist, anytime you restart, the RNG generated will remain the same, meaning if a specific camera caught you out on one occasion, you can actually learn from that mistake as you carry the knowledge with you into a second attempt at that seed.
This is an interesting mechanic that they added. Having seeded randomization, it could mean that you're only going to learn for that one specific variation instead of actually getting better at the game, because you're just going to learn where everything is for that specific seed, and then you could beat it after just learning where everything is, memorizing where everything is, and never actually just getting better, because I personally like the way that every time you play a map in Payday 2, it randomizes. Sometimes you can get good RNG, sometimes you can get bad RNG. But if you get bad RNG, you can just, restart, and you get another variation. But here, it sounds like you're going to have to rebuy the contract, or however it's done, before you can, actually change the randomization. So, I don't know what to think of it, personally. Could be fun to actually have to learn how to learn around each heist individually for each seed, or just not having that extra randomization every time you play could just decrease the actual skill required to get good. Also, if we do manage to get mods into Payday 3, it could also make RNG mod a really easy mod to create, because you could just take a seed from what we know is good RNG and then just slide it into where the seed that the game picks instead. So I can see where they were going with this, but it's, again, something else we're going to have to experience before we can actually create any opinions.
This is as opposed to being surprised by unexpected or uncontrollable events again and again, making it harder to develop as a heister, which is something I appreciate, although it might lead to fewer laughs at my expense during challenge runs. Alongside all of this, I do want to touch on a few minigame style additions which aren't stealth exclusive but are still much more closely related to the playstyle. For example, lockpicking is still a time-based interaction but now includes a timing skill check a la Dead by Daylight to reward players in a hurry. Likewise, we now have a safe-cracking minigame that I wasn't a huge fan of, but basically you'll need to spin the dial in one direction, stopping as soon as it lights up green, and repeat for the full combination. Nothing game changing, but still innovations that spice up the gameplay loop, and I'm happy to see.
I can see why they added these mini games. It'll make stealth a lot more fun instead of just waiting for stuff to happen, but in loud they could be annoying. Because while you're being shot, you don't want to be stuck in a mini game. Although, to be fair, you wouldn't be interacting if you're being shot either, so... Something else we're just going to have to test to see how they actually work and how buggy they are before we can actually, make any real opinions on it.
Finally, I want to briefly touch on the newly added stealth tools that will be included in every heister's inventory. There are 4 in total to choose from at launch. Of course, we have the ECM jammer, allowing you to block out camera signals at the touch of a button, laser sensors, which will help you track the movements of guards, a remote camera, which we can actually see in action during this B-roll gameplay, attached to a security guard to give a mobile view of areas immediately out of sight, and finally a stun tool that likely has some application in loud, but also works in stealth to help you incapacitate guards without fear of them firing a bullet at you and blowing your cover.
So it seems like you have a utility, which would be this E key here, your deployable, which appears to be X, and then your throwable, which appears to be G. So we have an extra equipment option to have to worry about, rather than just the 2 default ones, which would be throwable and deployable. Like it is in Payday 2, we now have this extra utility option here.
These all seem impeccably well balanced, and I can't wait to have more time with them to discover additional uses and experiment with the many styles of stealth now on offer to us. Honestly, it's unbelievable how far we've come from Payday 2, and I think most impressively, this progress has occurred within a familiar framework of pages and security cams, yet everything just feels so much more relevant and mechanically deep. I even believe that the familiarity will be welcomed by many stealth fans who have got a lot of mileage out of Payday 2's archaic system and enjoy its gameplay loop for a reason. My only hope at this point is that the other 6 heists, assuming they can be played in stealth, will offer a similar level of objective depth and precise level design that I've experienced so far. Honestly, things are shaping up incredibly well. Sadly, that's it for the review of my early hands-on access with Payday 3. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have in the comments below. I think in conclusion, I'm beyond excited to see more and can't wait to see the game in your hands as soon as possible. There's only so many things I and other partners can work out on our own. If this game is half as deep as I think it is, we'll be discovering new techs and strategies for years to come. As I said earlier on, in terms of moment-to-moment cooperative gameplay, Payday 3 is looking absolutely unmatched so far. I do have to confess, I might be looking at everything through rose-tinted glasses, bearing in mind how awesome and unique the play sessions I got to enjoy were, but even accounting for that, the sheer potential of this game is palpable. So far, Payday 3 is everything I've ever hoped it would be, so here's hoping quality is there across the board, and none of the wonderful work the creative teams have managed is undone by greedy corporate decision-making or miserable monetization strategies. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm honoured to have been able to produce this video series for you. None of this would be possible without your support. I'm bringing you more Payday 3 news as soon as it's announced on the channel shortly, so subscribe, stay tuned, and I'll see you all very soon.
So that was Payday 3, The Art of Stealth by Kknowley. I don't really have too much to say about it, because I'm not really a Payday stealth fan. I've always preferred loud a lot more. So, don't have too much to say. I mean, it all sounds interesting, and I might actually play stealth in Payday 3 as opposed to Payday 2, where it's just there to be annoying. So, still looking forward to Payday 3. Hope it comes out reasonably soon. I heard that there's a beta possibly on the way. So, looking forward to that, and I'll see you guys next time.